All right. So looking at this here, so first step in solving radical equations is to get the radical by its, or well, is there one radical? Yes. If there's one radical, get it by itself. Is it by itself? Yes. So step number 2, put both sides to the nth power. So the nth power in this case would be 2. So we put both sides to the second power. Now out of these two here, the left side's kind of nicer than, or the right side is nicer than the left, because the square root of 18 minus 3b squared, well, the square root and square would cancel, giving us 18 minus 3b. The left-hand side, 6 minus, or b minus 6 squared is not b squared plus 36. It is, but it isn't. Because when we square b minus 6, we're really saying that we have b minus 6 times b minus 6. It's multiplied by itself. If it had just been 6b, we could have squared both terms and been fine. But because of the minus sign in the middle, we're going to have to distribute. So we will get b times b, which is b squared.
Would it be minus 6b?
Then we do b times negative 6, which is negative 6b. Negative 6 times b is negative 6b. And lastly, negative 6 times negative 6 is plus 36. Then we can combine like terms, which is b squared minus 12b plus 36 is equal to 18 minus 3b. So we do technically get the b squared and positive 36, but we still need the middle term of negative 12b. Questions on this here? Since we have a variable being squared, we do have a quadratic, so we need to get this equal to 0. What's the first thing we can do? So we can subtract 18 or add 3b. We can do either one. We just need to pick one. So we have b squared minus 12b plus 18 equals negative 3b, and yes. Our next step would be to add 3b to both sides, giving us b squared minus 9b plus 18 is equal to 0. Questions on this here? Okay. Yes. Yes. If it gives off pollen at all, I am allergic to it.
I'll take the equals.
Yeah. So we can graph this. Now, even though we don't have x or x, we have b instead, that's fine. So instead of b squared, we'll say x squared minus 9x plus 18. So x squared minus 9x plus 18. Graph, we do have two solutions. Second graph gives us the table. And again, we're looking for what values of x will make the y value be 0. So 3 and 6. So here we're saying b is equal to 3, and b is equal to 6. Convert? Now those are the two solutions. So we did solve. We can either graph it or factor it. Either way works. Questions on how we found our two solutions? We good with this so far. Now, we will check and make sure that these work. So we found 3 and 6. So we can check 3 first. So we'd plug 3 back in for b. Now on the one side, we can say second square root. We have 18 minus 3 times 3. And we get 3. So the right-hand side of this is 3. The left-hand side, we have 3 minus 6, which is negative 3, because 3 minus 6 would be negative 3. And, well, negative 3 is not equal to 3. So b equals 3 does not work. Now we can try the same thing with 6. Now this one here, the left side's kind of nice. 6 minus 6 is 0. On the other side, we can take square root of 18 minus 3 times 6. Thank you, which is also 0. So 0 equals 0, which is a true statement. So b equals 6 is our solution. And that's it. Questions on this here? Because whenever we have a quadratic, the main way we solve is by getting it equal to 0. Now, once we get it equal to 0, there's different ways we can solve it, factoring, graphing, quadratic formula. We just have to pick one of them. Does that make sense? Hopefully with that, I'm not going to bite my nose the rest of the hour. Now, it doesn't matter which way we go about solving it once we get it in quadratic form. But for the most part, if the number in front of our squared term is 1, or it's divisible by all of them, so if it was, say, 2b squared, 10b, 18, we can graph it just fine. If for some reason we had, say, 2, well, it doesn't divide into all 3, so there's a good chance we might have to factor. One of the solutions we'll have to factor to get it. Questions on this so far? We good with everything so far. Okay. Let's look at the next one. 4 plus the square root of negative 3m plus 10 equals m. We need to get, there is one radical. We need to get it by itself. So we would indeed subtract 4. So we have negative 3m plus 10 is equal to m minus 4. Here's the radical by itself. Okay, step 2, put both sides to the nth power. So we're going to square both sides. On the left-hand side, our square root and the square would cancel, telling us negative 3m plus 10 is equal to, well, m minus 4 times m minus 4. Because we're multiplying it by itself. So we'd still have the negative 3m plus 10. But when we distribute, m times m would be m squared. M times negative 4 is negative 4m. Negative 4 times m, negative 4m. And negative 4 times negative 4 is plus 16. Now we can combine like terms, telling us that we have m squared minus 8m plus 16. Since we do have that squared term, m squared, we need to get everything on the same side. We need to get it equal to 0. You can subtract 10. To tell us that negative 3m is equal to m squared minus 8m plus 6. Then we would telling us that 0 is equal to m squared minus 5m plus 6. Yes. Multiplying. because our m times m is m squared. Now we're doing m times 4, which gives us 4m. Because if it had been 2m times 4, it would have been 8m. We're still multiplying, but it just looks like we stick them together because there's not a number in front of m. Does that make sense? Now there is, the only time we wouldn't try to get this equal to 0 is, let's just say, if this side had also had m squared, and if we subtract m squared from both sides, well, the left-hand side would cancel out completely, yes? What would happen to the one on the right? Because if I minus m squared from here, that is gone, yes? If I minus it from here, if m squared minus m squared is, do we have an m squared anymore? No, if it cancels out completely, we just solve for m. We don't need it to be 0. Does that make sense? Because at that point, all we have left, this is gone, yes? I just have m and get the m's by itself, numbers on the other side solve. If the m squareds cancel out, solve it like we would otherwise. But since m squared is still there, we need it equal to 0. Now at this point we can graph. Because x squared, what was it, plus or no?
Just minus 5m.
5m plus 6. So we get these two here, yes? Second graph. Our two solutions are 2 and 3. Questions on how we found these two solutions? All right, let's go back and check it. All right, guys, if you were to guess which one would probably not work, what would your guess be? 3. 4 plus square root of negative 3 times 3 plus 10 is equal to 3. Now, the right-hand side's nice because it's, well, just 3. 4 plus second square root negative 3 times 3 plus 10 is, check and see if you did minus instead of negative. Is 5 equal to negative 3?
No. Did you say it?
No, I was saying that these are error.
So that tells us that 3 is what we call an extraneous solution. It's an extra solution we get from solving. So we can check 2 just to make sure. Negative 3 times 2 plus 10 is equal to 2. Again, the right side's nice, it's just 2. 4 plus second square root negative 3 times 2 plus 10 is 2, yes? So the other one's telling us 6 is equal to 2. So that means m equals 2. This is here, so it means we have no solution. Questions on this here? So it is possible that we get one that doesn't work at all. Are you ready for the next one? Negative n plus the square root of 6n plus 19 equals 2.
When we add in.
Yes. Because we do have one radical, we need to get it by itself, so we're going to add n to both sides. Telling us that the square root of 6n plus 19 is equal to 2 plus n or n plus 2, either one works. I like putting the variable first, but is the radical by itself. So we're going to put both sides to the nth power, and our nth power is 2. So on the left-hand side, our radical and squared cancel, giving us 6n plus 19 is equal to n plus 2 times n plus 2. We can distribute with our n plus 2 and n plus 2. N times n is
N squared.
n squared. N times 2 is plus 2n. Then we do the same thing with 2. 2 times n is plus, and 2 times 2 is 4. So we had 6n plus 19 is equal to n squared plus 4n plus 4. Now we need to get this thing equal to 0. So what can we do first? Subtract 19, yeah. Telling us that 6n is equal to n squared plus 4n minus 15. Then what can we do next? Subtract 6n. Telling us 0 is equal to n squared minus 2n minus 15. Question is how we got this equal to 0. Now we can graph it. X squared minus 2x minus 6, or minus 15, yeah.
I got negative 3 and 5.
Negative 3 and 5. Questions on how we found our two solutions? Well, again, we're going to need to check these. Which one of these two do we think is an extraneous solution? Negative 3, we can try it first. Negative 3 plus the square root of 6 times negative 3 plus 19 is equal to 2. Negative 3 plus second square root 6 times negative 3 plus 19 is, so is 4 equal to 2?
All of the negative but still
No. Now we need to check the other one. Negative 5 plus 6 times 5 plus 19 is indeed 2, so 2 equals 2. So that works. Questions on this here? And that's it.